Well, if you haven't already received your Ford Lightning and it's currently being built, that may not happen as fast as you had expected. So yesterday, Ford announced that they're actually putting a stop on the current builds because of some battery-related issues. Now, this isn't great news if you're waiting, but also this isn't great news if you own the truck because unless they've recently changed production or they're gone with a new battery vendor as a result of trying to get those EV credits, something is definitely wrong with, that battery setup if they're basically saying we're not building them. Now, I will note that if you have one in transit or you happen to find one on the lot and you want to buy that, they have not instated a stop sale, which would be they would tell all the dealerships not to sell them because there's a really big problem. So those may remember that Volkswagen ended up doing this when they had their diesel scam fiasco. They weren't allowed to sell them. They weren't allowed to auction them. They weren't allowed to do anything with them. They actually just sat on the lot and ultimately rotted to some extent before everything was cleared up. So now in regards to the Ford Lightning, it does not matter if it's an extended range or a standard range battery. It is currently not being built. Now, I don't have any information from Ford or anybody else that says when this will end up being restarted, but it does just go to show that the Ford Lightning, unfortunately, has suffered a lot of bad press ever since it got announced and then more so as it got released. And of course, range, that's not limited to the Lightning. Although in the winter it is, considering that it almost cuts about 60 miles off the standard range battery in 10 to 20 degree weather. We're not even talking negative degrees here. We're just talking, northeast cold. Of course, we have charging station fiascos, which again, not limited to the Lightning, just kind of seems to be an EV thing. And quite frankly, since I've owned this truck, I've enjoyed it as a truck. I've enjoyed it as what it is. I have not enjoyed owning an electric vehicle. And I think part of that is because of the, honestly, my lifestyle, right? So the things that I do, I go to rental properties, I go to clients' offices, I go into the city, like to take day trips, like to go up to, say New Hampshire, which is about 2 hours away for the weekend. It just really doesn't afford itself that I need to plan out my entire trip. Now, I've done a bunch of videos on my experience so far with the Lightning, and overall, I still enjoy it. I don't know how much longer I'm going to have it for various reasons, but at the moment, it seems like if you don't have one, you may be waiting a lot longer. And I'm curious in the comments, if you have one on order, have you heard anything from Ford about, stop production or, hey, your build date has now been pushed back? So going back to my previous vehicle, the Ford Bronco, I ended up going through this whole experience, dirt mountain, all of that stuff, where my Bronco was actually built. It needed final inspection, it was held, and then the hardtop fiasco occurred with, was it Webesto, I think was the name of the company. And ultimately, it just meant that my vehicle sat for a good 3 or 4 months before I actually saw it. So I have a feeling that it's going to be a similar situation. Not to say that the Lightning is going to end up on Dirt Mountain, although I'm guessing Ford still owns the property, so maybe they will. We've seen Ford dropping the starting prices for a lot of their EV vehicles, kind of in response to Tesla, and I'm sure that the Lightning will get that at some point. I know it's actually had some cost increases over the last year or so. So it'll be interesting to see for the upcoming models what exactly is going to happen with the longevity of this vehicle, not from a technical perspective, but from a sales and a ownership value retention perspective. I really don't think that you're going to be able to flip these anymore. In fact, I think that's already gone. I'm almost concerned that if you drive a $60,000, $70,000 truck off the lot, you may see $10,000 to $20,000 in value just evaporate. And then as you get closer to the end of life of the battery, you may even have some issues there as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of all pans out. If you follow me and you have a Lightning or you have one on order, I intentionally do not crap on the brand or the product because I think that it has value. If you're thinking of buying one, maybe you should look at whether it works for you, because I'd hate to see somebody purchase it, be super excited, and then kind of fall out of love with it almost immediately. And I think that's happening with electric vehicles, not limited to the Lightning, simply because, charging woes, battery range, cost to install chargers at homes. I kind of touched on this in one of my previous videos, but I had a friend, a certified electrician friend, install my charger, and it was still almost $1,500. And that did not include the price of the charger. So there's, I think, a few detractors from the EV space that I'm curious to see, how long it's going to be able to be propped up as this amazing thing. And people are going to start to realize that maybe it's not. And none of this video touches on, our public infrastructure for charging. That honestly is a whole separate issue. And I think we're going to see more of it as we're starting to see, the requirements for EV credits and things getting way more complex, and, just things of that nature. It's going to be interesting to see and honestly follow along. I do still have the Chevy Silverado truck on reservation. I don't have any information on when it's actually coming, but it's still there. We know that the Ram EV just got announced. Looks like it's going to have the most range. And if you want to see an awesome video on the overview of that, go check out All Terrain Nation. His buddy of mine, been on his show a couple times. I will leave a link in the description to check out his video, because I am not all things vehicles, all things, EV or otherwise. I just make videos on the vehicles that either I come in contact with or I actually own. Lastly, next week, I'm picking up a new toy car. So be on the lookout for that. I'm super excited and cannot wait to get back to the racetrack. That's all I'm going to say for now. So you'll have to check that out soon. As always, I appreciate you guys checking out these videos. Like I said, if you have an EV or you're waiting for one, please drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I hope I didn't ruffle any feathers. This is facts, really. I don't make this news. I'm just providing it and my insight as an owner. So as always, I appreciate your support in the channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.